Welcome to Under the Fig Tree podcast. In today's episode, hosts Reverend Micah Glenn and Reverend Dr. Ben Haupt talk theology and life as they meditate under the fig tree.
What's up? Welcome back to another episode of Under the Fig Tree. Today is just Ben and I. I almost said me and Ben, but I guess that's technically grammatically incorrect. But
right,
who cares about grammar these days?
It is Ben and I. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's
Or is it is Ben and me? Because wouldn't that be the technically be the subject?
Yeah, but when is the verb, then it takes I guess you would say it's me.
That's what I'm saying. It's Ben and me.
Yeah.
I think so.
It is I.
Yeah.
I think it is I is proper English.
It's terrible.
It sounds terrible.
Dumb.
Yeah.
I was watching this reel on Instagram recently, and it was this guy. He was Australian, so how seriously can we take him? No, I'm just joking. But he was talking about the weird things of like the English language, like where you put a PH together and it makes an F sound sometimes. But I guess P and H always make a F sound. But like G and H,
right? Sometimes
they're silent, sometimes it's not. Does it change the laughter or slaughter?
Right.
English is weird.
You know who is the person to follow on this and is the world's expert is Jeff Gibbs.
Oh.
Jeff Gibbs cares a lot about whether it's you and I or you and me.
Sure.
And
I was going to say Jim Veltz, but I guess either one of those guys would be good for that.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments who's right. Is it I or me?
I think when it is just when is the verb, I think it takes the predicate nominative rather than the accusative.
You could be right. And so if you're a listener and you're not great at English and you're worried about doing a program where writing is the method in which you will be graded and judged upon for 4 years of your life, don't worry. Greek does improve English language skills. Not perfectly.
Right.
I'm an example of that. But it does sharpen your English skills because you have to begin to think about English differently than just speaking it because you have to translate stuff.
Yep, that's right.
And then writing papers, your professors will let you know how crappy your English skills are, and then either you don't do anything to improve them or you improve them.
Well, all these different languages kind of run together. So I know for sure that in German, I know German grammar better than I know English maybe. I know for sure in German that when sein is the verb, then it takes the nominative in the predicate rather than the accusative.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. And English is Germanic, so
technically, I
right.
think Oxford English. Not that we speak Oxford English here.
No.
I don't want to speak Oxford English.
No.
When I wrote my dissertation, I used some British spellings. I started to spell recognize with an S and
Sure.
some of
you
those
put
kinds
like
of
you
things.
in a couple of words that it doesn't belong.
Yeah, I could never do you in the word color. Nah, or flavor.
Yeah,
that's too weird for me.
Fair
Was
enough.
too weird.
Yeah. Anyway,
We're doing a good job of just talking about nothing.
well, surprise, surprise. I think we're good at that all the time. So part of the episode today, and so we started a series on the Book of Concord. You and I kind of introduced the idea of it. We had Dr. Charles Aaron on for a couple of episodes. But the summer is here.
Yeah.
You teach an intensive class. I'm taking a couple of intensive classes. You're taking a vacation. I'm taking another intensive class. Then I'm taking a vacation. I don't know what you're doing after that. But essentially, the fact that we had Tom on as a guest host, our schedules haven't aligned.
Right.
And our schedules, I don't think they'll align again until probably sometime in August. And even I have vacation booked, and I haven't told you yet, but I'm thinking of taking another couple days after. I come back on a Wednesday, and I'm like gonna show back up to work on Thursday. And I'm like, well, why don't I just take Thursday and Friday off?
We could ask the listeners in the comments to decide whether or not Micah should get a vacation.
Well,
because you know me, I am such a hard-nosed boss, and man, if somebody asks for a vacation, I got to think long and hard. I got to pray for several days, and I really have to.
This is why I have so much vacation.
Put people through make them sweat.
Stored up. I have so much, but here's okay. And so we're going to talk about. So we are taking a break. That's the point of this episode, in large part, just to let you guys know.
Not me and Micah.
Well,
we're breaking up. Sorry, you didn't get it first. Now you do. We're not taking a break. Micah and I are still running together as co-workers, but we're going to take some time off from the podcast.
Yeah, we love doing this. Again,
it really is
the fact that it wasn't a original part of the design for me coming to the seminary, but the fact that I get to co-host a podcast as part of my job it's all right.
I thought that you hosted a podcast and I co-host a podcast.
I knew you were going to pick up on that. It was intentional. I was trying to,
we have a lot of fun.
Do the whole mending. We're not breaking up in there.
Yeah.
But rest is important. And so a couple years ago, so it's okay to share some of the things about the benefits of being a church worker. So we have Concordia Plan services, and there's all kind of these kind of structured things around pay, time off, compensation, as far as because you get more than just your paycheck and your compensation, benefits and all that other stuff. And then, it gets scaled up based upon experience, like any other industry and things like that. So just a couple of years ago, I passed 5 years, which is like a benchmark. And I went from 2 weeks of vacation to 3 weeks of vacation annually. And when you're kind of used to scheduling life off of 2 weeks, it's like, all right, these are when the kids are going to be off, and when I'm going to take vacation, you kind of break it down that way. And I'm not the type, I don't like a lot of vacation hours in the bank, because I'm not taking time off.
I don't like a lot of dollars in the bank. I'm a spender, so if there's stuff in the bank, man, let's spend that stuff. I always tell my wife it's made to be spent.
I save what I save.
I don't want my dollars to just rot in the bank.
No, your checking account has no value other than spending value.
Yeah. I mean, I'm worried that they're gonna expire or something.
Well, they might.
Yeah.
Listen, they might.
It's called inflation. It's called inflation. That's dollars go sour, and all of a sudden you can't buy as much. I mean, go to any fast food restaurant and see what you can order for under $5.
We go through this all the time, because again, during COVID and stuff like that, when you're stuck in the house, we grew up in Grubhub, Uber Eats. That's all incredible blessing. They come, they leave it on your floor. I mean, on the porch. Yep. They drive away, and once they get a mile away and can't give you COVID anymore, you go out and get your food after it's cold. But then I'll go and we'll go through the process. Neither Dorothy or I want to cook dinner, and so then we get on Grubhub or Uber Eats, and once you put in what you need to order, then you see the service fees, the taxes, and everywhere. I don't mind tipping, but tipping is getting preposterous in America.
It is.
And I hate to say that. I'm a 20% tipper.
Yeah,
just kind of bad service, good service. I don't really care. Yeah. But my point is that once we put it in and all the fees, and something that if we went to Chick-fil-A, is now double the price because it's going to get delivered. Oh man, I just can't.
Even going straight to Chick-fil-A or wherever your fast food restaurant is, man, we're always $40 or $50.
Oh, we have two that still eat kids' meals, so we get away with a little less, 30 instead of 40.
Wait until they become teenagers.
Dude, no, John is already eating grown man meals.
So theology of rest, theology of summer break.
Yeah.
There's this great thing about the Hebrew Scriptures and Genesis. Little fact that Eugene Peterson, I think, was the first person that put me onto this in his book, Working the Angles. He talked about there, but it's true just about the Hebrew Scriptures that rest actually comes before work in the Hebrew Scriptures. So when God makes the world, there was day and then there was night. When God defines day, he says there was night and then there was day.
Right.
So the night starts with sleeping, or sorry, that the day one starts with there was night and there was day, the first day. So the idea is that the week starts with Sabbath rest. The day starts with sleeping. So that before you charge into your work, you start with rest.
When you count the days of the week, how do you begin? What's the first day?
Yeah, I typically count the first day as Sunday.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I think everywhere else in the world does it, but I think it's a very American thing to start the day with Monday because it's work orientated. Right. But my kids have this song, and it's Sunday, Monday, and it starts Sunday, not Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah. And
I think you're right about that. It's like, how can I even approach the beginning of the week? In kind of that space, like the week has started, it's Monday morning, now I'm snapping into work. I'm the same way. It's like, okay, Sunday, Sabbath rest. I was going to say that because we both work here that we're not regular preachers, and that's not quite the case for me. So over the course of the last year, a little over, I've been feeling a vacancy at a congregation. And I've let them know, and I've had lots of conversations with you about balance, work life.
Yeah.
Because as we're talking about rest, well, typically for us, because our Monday to Friday is intense.
Yep.
The Saturday, Sunday thing becomes pretty important, but then I have graduate school, so Saturday often becomes a study day, and then Sunday becomes another work day as a pastor. And so, it's just not good for you to live that way and continue to just keep the clock going nonstop.
Yeah, and I think it's easy in America to get into this mindset that you go, and then when you need a break or when you just can't work anymore, then you go, okay, I guess I'll sit down and take a rest. Or you get to the end of the day and you're still trying to work or do something, and you fall asleep in the middle of your emailing or whatever. That is not a biblical view of being a human. And I think it really comes down to, Luther said that justification was the hub of our entire theology, the center of our entire theology. So if we start with God has forgiven our sins, God has created us, God has redeemed, sanctified us, then we start not with working ourselves into our salvation, but rather we start with what God has done for us, resting.
Yeah.
And only after we've rested ourselves in Christ, Augustine has this great line that I love: our hearts are restless until they find their rest in God, until they find their rest in you or in thee, O Lord. All of the confessions is addressed to God as a prayer. But our hearts, we start with rest. And once we're well rested, then we can dive into our work knowing that we're not trying to justify ourselves or kind of make up for our mistakes or our shortcomings or whatever else.
Or even lost time.
Yeah.
Time
it's hard to
finite.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. As we're talking about this and as we're trying to encourage people to think about church work, in any congregation, in any church institution, in any context where ministry takes place, there is no shortage of things that can be done.
Yeah.
People always ask, like, just with like recruiting, it's like, well, we do a ton of stuff. Could we do more?
Sure.
100%.
Yeah.
Then I think about what we do. We do. I'm a child.
I want to see some emojis right at that. Doo-doo.
Like we already do a ton of things. And I'm just thinking about maybe our current students who might be listening, or if you're a recent graduate who might be listening, or maybe you've been out for 5 years, or maybe you've been out for a long time, or maybe you just haven't gotten into church work yet. How were you, fresh out of seminary, right, bright and shiny in Boca Raton, Florida, with your regular work schedule, but then also of taking extended breaks from work, aka vacation, and just letting things be, disconnecting, and actually taking time away from where you work, which is kind of tough for us because we live on campus. But when we vacation, I never see you, and you don't see me either. We also probably leave for campus when we vacation. But
yeah. True. Okay. True confessions. First, in case anybody from Boca is listening, I have to say it's Boca Raton, not Raton.
What did I say, Raton?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's. I would lose my any respect that there is left, and there's probably not very much. But I love my friends in Boca, but they wouldn't let me get away with that. So
fair.
Boca Raton. Boca Ratones, the mouth of the rat. That's where it comes from.
Okay.
It's a little bay, and there were pirates or smugglers or something, or maybe it just looks like, Florida kind of looks like a rat's head or a snake, and I don't know.
Sure.
At any rate, when I was first a pastor in Boca, I was not great at taking a day off. In fact, I remember on vicarage, I was calling back to the seminary to Jeff Cloa, who was kind of my mentor, and I was telling him about some stuff that was going on vicarage, and I said, yeah, I just got home. Today's my day off. And he was like, well, what do you mean you just got home? What were you doing? Well, I was teaching confirmation because I taught confirmation Monday through Friday in the Lutheran elementary school. And he said, here was his definition of a day off. If you have to shave, if you have to shower, if you have to get yourself ready and you go into the office, it ain't a day off.
Right.
And I was probably 3/4 of the way through the year when I told him that. I also told him that I was working on grad school stuff, writing papers, and working on, I don't know, textual criticism and Irenaeus or something. And I was doing that on my day off. And he was like, yeah, that's also not day off stuff. That sounds like work.
Yeah.
You're doing that for the sake of the church. You're doing that for the sake of your career. It's not rest. It's not Sabbath. It took us a long time as a family to get into the kind of rhythm of having an actual resting Sabbath. So I wasn't great at taking lots of vacation either when I started. So how about you?
So my first call was in Ferguson as a domestic missionary through the LCMS. And it was always tough because, like I said, there's always something to do, and I had a few tasks. And so I had partner congregations and tried to visit as many of them as I could.
And you were Sundays. The poster boy for the Missouri Synod for a while, so kind of still are. But, when you got an image to uphold.
Never by choice. But, so I had a call to a congregation as well. So employed by Synod, call to a congregation. And even though, like, the call isn't just for good order. I was also called to that congregation. So, you're there and you're a pastor. And so once a month, I tried to preach at that congregation. If I wasn't preaching at that congregation, missionaries are self-funded. I'd try to guest preach and go raise money for the ministry in Ferguson. During the week, I would try to be a part of the programming and ministry that I was doing in Ferguson and raise money throughout the week. So I'd go work and then go, present at a Bible study during the week. I traveled a ton for a lot of different reasons, raise awareness, raise money every once in a while. And this is where it got bad is the trips that I would take Dorothy and the kids on when they were available to come with me. They would go and do stuff, but I would go and raise money. So it's like I'm giving
vacation.
Yeah, exactly. And so I left when I accepted the call to Lutheran Hour Ministries. I had a terrible amount of vacation time left that I never used, and I looked at that, and it was at that moment, again, talking to Dorothy, and I think anytime you like have a transition like that from call to call, you have to stop, especially if you're married, and recalibrate things with your spouse. And so early on in my career, I'm not going to say I didn't take any vacation days, because I certainly did, but it wasn't many at all. As opposed to here now, like if I look at the calendar and there's nothing on, I'll pop in randomly, like a day tomorrow, like, hey man, I'm just going to take off tomorrow. Yeah. And just rest. But again, now moving forward, we have a big family vacation, and my kids don't listen to the podcast, but I'm still not going to say what it is. We're going to Florida. And so you can imagine what we're doing in Florida when we have 3 young children. We're pumped. It's all paid for. It's all booked. We have reservations. It's going to be exciting. And the last let me rewind a little bit. And our youngest, David, is 6.5. And so when your kids are young, you don't want to spend
perfect age for whatever you might be doing in Florida.
Oh, dude, it's going to be unreal. They're going to freak out. We have a whole thing scheduled. Monica Rhodes,
awesome.
Office manager,
Oh, yeah.
She's a big Disney person. She helped me like think about things to make it exciting for our kids. But the first time we did like a big family vacation where we flew and spent some money, we went to visit Dorothy's parents in the Dominican Republic. And we were always kind of hesitant. It's like when your kids are young, it's like, do you spend a ton of money, especially if you have limited funds and your kids aren't even going to remember?
Right.
But in the DR, like every day we could see the experience leaving an imprint on the kids. Mm-hmm. And that's when we were like, oh, our kids are now old enough to where we can actually do this. And like, vacation, it costs money, but it is an investment in your family.
Absolutely.
Those memories and building your kids up and giving them experiences. I think next summer we're going to try to go to Europe. We keep saying that, but I think next summer is actually going to be the summer that we go. Nadia just left the other day.
Yeah, that was
our
hard.
Exchange student.
Tough for Aiden. Yeah.
Well, so we've had 3 before, but again, I've always been gone when they were there, so I knew them a little bit. But Dorothy was definitely more of a parent to them than I was. But I've gotten to know Nadia pretty well, and it was a little different with her going home this time.
I'll bet. And
the point is that I've gotten so much better about taking those type of times away. And then the whole point of bringing up the Dominican Republic is I lost my phone on the first day of our vacation. We went like in Punta Cana's on the north side of the Dominican Republic.
Dorothy threw it in the ocean.
That's 100% what happened. Well, I had a lanyard that was like, waterproof because we wanted to take pictures and stuff like that. And the waves were too big for our kids. At the time, they weren't swimmers. And but Johnny was big enough. And he like walked out to where I was, and he just got nailed by a wave. And I went to get him out. And then a wave right behind it knocked my phone off, knocked my sunglasses off. And that's how vacation started. And it was.
You lost the sunglasses too?
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway. And, well, you know how I am about that type of stuff.
I bet they weren't dollar store sunglasses.
They were not. Anyway, I won't say what brand they were, but I didn't. Anyway, it was funny because we had just got new iPhones with our plan, and the the salesperson wouldn't leave me alone, so I just walked away with the insurance. And I was like, I'm just gonna cancel it as soon as I get home. Luckily, I didn't cancel it, and so it was replaced relatively
Nice.
cheaply. But I didn't have my phone for that whole vacation, and it was wonderful.
I'll bet.
To the point where, like, when I came back from vacation, I deleted certain social media apps off my phone and other things that are time wasters, just so I could just not be on that as opposed to on the vacation. And it's the plan is for us to kind of do something similar in Disney, where we just unplug,
Nice.
not take phone calls from anybody else, take pictures for memories, and to the point where even now, probably in the fall, sometime around Thanksgiving or Christmas, I'll probably even do a staycation
Nice.
every once in a while, just to,
Yeah, those are good too.
because we can't afford big trips multiple times a year. Not
Sure.
yet, maybe one day.
Yeah.
But when you're paying for school and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But still, just to stop and say, like, we can't afford to travel per se, but it's still good to stop, let recruiting do its own thing for a week, and
Yeah, it'll be fine, and that's part of understanding that the work that we put in is what we can do.
yeah.
I don't think that. Well, in some ways, we sacrifice our entire lives, right? Everything that we do is a spiritual sacrifice, Romans 12. But I think even vacation is a bit of spiritual sacrifice. We're sacrificing our own egos and our own, like, drive, and laying that aside because maybe me being just on all the time is actually not good for my work. Productivity, they've done a lot of studies. You're more productive if you have vacation and if you're not working crazy hours. And
No, well, and we're both kind of, if you look at, like, career, we're both in those peak ages.
yeah,
Where and it's always an interesting thing to think about, because we're church workers, and if we were in the parish, we'd probably have a little different. It would look differently. I guarantee pastors our age are in the same mode where you're trying to take advantage of gained life experience and youth, that you just kind of get this window. And we all know that we see it in athletics, we see it in everything, where there's a window where whatever career you do, you're going to have your best years. And we're both kind of, I'm probably approaching it. You're probably on the front end of it.
yeah,
But we're there where, we want to kick it into high gear. We want to take advantage of this. We want to do as much as we can for the seminary while we have this window open, because it's not open forever.
right.
People always ask me how long I'll do recruiting. I was like, well, I know I'm cool and all, but there's a legitimate window for being relevant to high school students.
Yeah,
And Nadia's mom is my age, and so, like, high school students have parents my age, so that window is probably a little more narrow than I think it is.
you like being big brother rather than dad.
Yeah, but Johnny turns 10, man. So that whole big brother thing is dunzo. That kid, he's starting to, like, actually, like, need life lessons about friends and expectations from life, and I have to, like, sit him down and have those legitimate conversations. It's no longer just kind of, oh, you'll be okay. It's like, let's sit down and, like, work through this a little bit, and let me give you some advice about how to, again, deal with friends and school and stuff like that. So yeah, it is an ego thing to where, like, well, if I leave for 2 weeks and things go well, am I valuable when I come back? And yeah, so
Yeah, of course.
Right, but
and we pour ourselves into our work when we can, and then we rest. Yeah, next week I'm going to Glacier National Park with my youngest son, Noah, and we're going to do some hiking and some backcountry. One of the trails right by where we're staying, I get these alert notifications on my phone now
Northern
about
Lights.
what's going on with.
Oh.
We are gonna
wildfires probably.
we are going to see. Hopefully, see some northern lights. Hopefully, there aren't wildfires yet. No, the alert was about bears in the area, and they had to close down a trail because of grizzly bear activity in the area. And I showed Noah, like, this is a real thing, man.
Yep.
Glacier National Park. There was and people. It's a dangerous park. Last week, a young woman lost her life, and that happens every year. There's a couple of people that lose their lives at Glacier. So it's real wilderness. You got to be careful, and you can't be foolish.
But you can't fly with bear spray though.
Nope. So we're renting it. We have it all worked out. We're not going to fly with bear spray, but we are going to have bear spray on us. So
Yes.
I had bear spray when I worked there in the summer of 2000, and I used it once.
Sure.
There was a bear very close, and he was big, and thankfully there were a whole bunch of us, but we did discharge some bear spray just to make sure that we kept a safe distance between us and the bears until the wind started blowing and it blew it back in our own eyes. It's just awful. But yeah, we'll prayerfully we'll be safe. But we're looking forward to being out in the wilderness also because of the phone thing. There's no cell service in Glacier National Park,
Nope.
so we'll have our phones to take some pictures and such. But yeah,
I don't know if you know this or not, but I'll just clue you in. Oh, maybe you might not have I don't know what model iPhone you have, but there is, in case of emergency, there is a satellite function on iPhones that will line you up to a satellite to get satellite connection in case of emergency. So
that's good to know.
if an emergency happens, you go on. It's part of. I've never looked at it because I've never needed it, but I'm sure you can figure out on your phone how to connect up to a satellite for a call should you need. Yeah. Life lessons, man. That's what
I'll have to check that out.
Is all about.
I didn't know that. And then later this summer, we've been saving for a while. Selena and I are celebrating our 20th anniversary this summer. Getting old, but we're enjoying life, and so she and I are going to go to Italy and spend 7 or 8 days in Barolo wine country. And
I don't
drink
know
some.
What part of Italy is that?
Piedmont, northwest. So way up in the. There's kind of the Alps kind of start down almost the Mediterranean and wrap up kind of along the border of Italy up in the northwest corner, and the valley or right at the foothills of the Alps. That's what Piedmont means, foothills of the mountains, the foot of the mountain, Monte. So we'll be in Piedmont for 7 or 8 days, and then the boys are going to fly over on their own.
Yeah.
And we'll see how that goes. Hopefully we meet up with them. If not, we're going to have a dandy old time in Europe, and we'll see them when we get back.
Exactly.
But we'll spend a little time hiking the Alps, and we're going to go up to the Lego house. Every 4 or 5 years we try to get over to Europe, and it's worth saving for. Frankly, going to South Florida, Central Florida. You can spend just as much money in Central Florida as you can in Europe.
I'm sure we spend as much money as you're spending, but it was the same thing. Saved.
Your kids are the perfect age for doing what you're doing.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Yeah. But last year, it was Dorothy and I's 10th anniversary, and before Nadia, we had 2 other exchange students from Italy, one from Milan, other one from Bari, which is like Adriatic coast, and now Nadia from Tuscany, as she would say. But that's what we're kind of thinking. If we can't do it next summer, just because of the cost of this summer, then we wanted to go for our 10th anniversary. You know, you save up for those big ones. But yeah, we'll put our dollars together. We'll kind of not travel for a year, at least internationally, and then do that. And the whole reason why we couldn't go for our 10th was because of me. Because of last summer with all of the things that I had to go to for work, and then vocatio and grad school. There were 9 days between the end of the kids' school year and the beginning of intensives. And Dorothy was all on board, and she was like, well, we could do it this way. And I was like, Dorothy, the 9 days before intensives, I guarantee you, I will be reading and writing papers. And that would be a terrible way to spend our 10th anniversary. And you just have to apologize and just say it's just not. We could do it, but you would be mad at me, and we would spend a ton of money doing it. Can we table it? And so instead we went camping in Colorado Springs at the end of the summer. Nice. When I became available again. But next summer, there is no mass amount of gatherings. There's always something to do in the summer, but it'll also be my last. I'm done with my coursework next year.
I think the listeners should hold you accountable to next summer. You're gonna take Dorothy to some place really nice. Don't you all think that Micah should do that?
Yeah. I'm down to be accountable for that. And then you guys hold Ben accountable for giving me enough of a pay raise to be able to do that. No, I'm just messing around. No.
I'll work on that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, eventually I'll be done with my PhD, and everybody will just have to. It's just how the scale goes, right?
There you
go. I don't think about those things. I just imagine that they happen. I'm well compensated by Concordia Seminary in St. Louis. I have nothing to complain about. Yeah. And they pay me well enough to go to Central Florida and to Europe every few years. Yeah. And so, awesome. That'll be the goal. And if it's just a matter of how we want to do it. And so, do we take the kids? Me and Dorothy went back and forth on that because I get where she was coming from, but I was like, but it'd be nice to also just do the two of us.
This will be our first. This last year we did our very first kind of just a few days away, we had one or two kind of throughout the years. We went to wine country with some friends a couple of years back, but it's really not until now that they're almost in high school that now they're like, Aiden and Noah are like, Mom and Dad are gone. Great. We can play Fortnite longer, or we can do whatever.
Well, I mean, because that's the trade-off, yeah. So for our kids, if we were gone for a week or so, we'd have to get them I would say with my parents, but that's no longer realistic. Yeah. But Dorothy's parents are some aunts and uncles. So it's not impossible, but that's always kind of the thing. Well, and then also, as we're talking about Nadi and our other exchange students, our kids were a part of their lives as well. So if we're going to go see them in Italy, it only makes sense to take the kids, because also their parents who entrusted us to be their child's parents have seen our kids grow up on Facebook, and I'm sure they want to meet them in person. And so we do that. And our oldest exchange daughter, Elsa, who's now 20-something, I think she's 22, which is, anyway, those moments where you start to really feel old. Or 23 even. Anyway, she said it. She'd volunteer to watch our kids so that Dorothy and I could have a few days on our own. And so, we'll probably take them. Why not? Nice international flight with a handful of kids. Big blast.
I have at least one ripe for the picking.
All right, let's hear it.
Ripe for the picking, or leave it on the tree. Lentil beans. Maybe with some nice like cumin or coriander, kind of a nice Indian style lentil.
That is right for the picking.
Yeah.
I mean, even like, so how you just described it, Yeah, lentils are nice.
Yeah.
And I don't mind them a couple different ways because you can. Are you a pea soup fan? Because it's kind of in the same family. No.
It is in the same family, and I've never been able to get into. I'll eat mushy peas if they're on my plate, or I'll eat pea soup if I must. But
Anytime we have a ham for a holiday, Dorothy has a couple pounds of pea soup, and that's following.
now, like bean soup, I can get into more, but
Way
like
more.
the
Dorothy's-
green
Dorothy's
sort of.
British. Yeah. When you eat it, pea soup, you smell like it. It's like there's nothing greater than like eating pea soup for dinner one night than going to the gym
I
and
wonder
wondering
why-
if other people can smell you.
I wonder why peas are such a big thing in England.
It's an island,
maybe they
resources.
grow well? I don't
There's a
know.
lot of questions.
Mushy peas are.
They're
It's
not
a
great.
bad idea.
Yeah. Well,
It's a bad idea.
and
I'd
the way
rather
they
eat-
season them.
I'd rather eat haggis than mushy peas.
Well, I think haggis is nice. So anyway,
Yeah.
but lentils though. So I could eat them that way because
Yep.
sometimes they come in like lentil soup and they're not quite. You don't have to get it all the way to mushy.
Yeah, yeah.
But also when they're a little al dente,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
fine too. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
lentils
exactly.
are nice. Yeah. It's like one of those things where you broaden your horizons a little bit. I had a couple marked. That one's. I was gonna say Formula One racing, but we'll skip that one.
Y'all know my answer on that one.
Oh, here's an interesting one. Ripe for the picking or leave it on the tree. Hollandaise.
So I could go back and forth on this one because, I mean, would I order hollandaise if it was on the menu? Absolutely not, because any good hollandaise must have butter in it, right?
Oh, that's
And
true.
there's just tons of dairy. I love the taste of it, and because it has like some mustard and some lemon juice.
probably-
And,
Is it butter? I think it's just eggs, mustard, and lemon juice.
if it was just eggs, mustard, and lemon juice, I could do
I
that.
could be wrong.
But I was thinking there was some cream or some butter. So I usually stay away from any sauce that I don't know, because typically good chefs put a little dairy in just because it makes it creamier, and everything that tastes good has milk in it. So I'm going to say leave it on the tree, even though it sounds delicious. And back in the day when I didn't pay attention to my health, I would have 100% been down for it.
Sure. It's leave it on the tree for me. I've only had it in a couple of things, like eggs Benedict. I think kind of traditionally comes with
Right.
hollandaise. It's funny because I put poached egg, and I was like, oh, hollandaise. So they went back to back.
Yeah.
Because I like poached eggs.
Yeah.
And I like eggs Benedict, just not the hollandaise part of it. It's not.
So what is an eggs Benedict if you don't have the hollandaise sauce? Just an English muffin,
Ham,
bacon or ham,
or,
Canadian
back
bacon, or and then an egg,
a poached egg. Yeah, no hollandaise.
and no sauce. Is that kind of dry?
If you have not if the egg is poached well.
Yeah.
And the
So
yolk
that
is runny. Yeah.
I used to hate runny yolks, and now I absolutely
What's
love
that?
them.
Like a hard, like I've gotten to the point where like a hard boiled egg is just kind of
Yeah,
that nasty dry yolk. Unless you're gonna make deviled eggs. I
like
don't
eating
need-
chalk or lima beans.
Yeah, no, like
Oh,
soft boiled
bad.
eggs or a poached egg or eggs.
Yeah.
I don't. It's challenging, and so like I even like when I scramble eggs, I scramble them so they're like on the creamy side but not the hard side, and so but I add butter.
Yeah.
That's how you accomplish that.
Dairy makes everything taste good.
But I don't want a sunny side up egg because the white, I can deal with the white not being fully cooked, but I would prefer for the white.
Yeah,
to be cooked,
for sure.
But
that's
not
good.
so when I say creamy eggs, not runny scrambled eggs where it's
Yeah.
like half cooked and half not.
Yeah,
That's vile.
Yeah.
I never understood how people eat.
Have you
eggs
ever
like
eaten
that.
a raw egg?
No,
Oh,
I just
Yeah,
I've
I
never
did
had
that
to,
one time.
I've never had to prove my manhood that way.
I was a camp counselor, and I was trying to be cool, and yep,
Pass.
I totally just cracked open an egg and down the hatch. I had to think of Rocky. Adrian. He's drinking the raw eggs as he's running up the steps of the Philadelphia Library. I don't look like Rocky.
I was gonna say
long, lanky arms, but
if I was guaranteed to be
fun.
like a boxing champion, I might. But I'm good on boxing, and I'm good on
raw eggs. Well, listeners, there you go. That was. We're gonna take a little break. We're going to
rest.
We're gonna rest. You should rest too. Don't go listening to other podcasts because we will be back. So. Stay loyal to this podcast. Actually, you should jump over to Dr. Schmidt and Dr. Nafsker's podcast on the lectionary, which I don't even remember what it's called. I'm a bad colleague.
Eventually, we'll have them come and talk about their podcast on this podcast. Yeah,
two Concordia Seminary podcasts now. So that's really exciting. But yeah,
exactly. Everything that Ben said, and between now and when we come back, like I said, our schedules won't align again until later in the summer. So expect us around September. And we'll come back and we'll have like a welcome back podcast. There could be some changes in the future because when we take long breaks, I like to overthink everything that we do. So be prepared for that. At least a couple on the way. Then we'll pick back up with the Book of Concord. If you've been listening and appreciating that, good. We'll come back with the Augsburg Confession. We'll remind you to listen to the other two if you hadn't at that point. I was telling Ben on the way over, we kind of talked about the preface. At least we brought it up. I don't know how much Dr. Aaron and I actually got to talking about the content of the preface to the Book of Concord, but it is actually an intriguing document that I never really paid attention to that much until I read it last term. And then, as always, I was going to say come visit us during the summer, but the summer's not a great time to come visit CSO. We're not here. We're in and out. The campus isn't very alive. But if you're thinking about becoming a student, we'll begin a new season of personalized visits for you. So reach out to us. We'd love to have you on campus. We have a couple of upcoming new group events for college-aged and second career people coming up that you should be on the lookout for. And to make sure that you have a spot on those or in communication with us, fill out the RFI on our webpage so that we can contact you, begin to engage you, especially if you're even just kind of on the horizon of thinking about church work.
There's no commitment to fill out the request for information. It's just let's
have a conversation.
Talk. Let's
exactly. Talk. And then receive stuff because we like to send prospective student stuff as well. And then just be up to date with what's going on. And if that's not you, but there's somebody in your congregation, young or not so young or even old, that might be a church worker, a good church worker, or at least you think they might, make sure you tell them, give them that encouragement, and tell them to fill out the RFI so we can engage them with the conversation, because you never know. You could be that person that ends up being talked about under the fig tree someday. So thank you all. Thank you all for tuning in. What Ben and I didn't say, I think we're probably a little embarrassed about this, but we won an award.
Oh, right.
For Under the Fig Tree. And I'll say this.
The award-winning podcast.
Whenever it's our first.
I think it's all Dale,
and Dale is a part of it. It's one of these things where like Ben and I just sit down and talk. Dale does way more work on the podcast than we do. And then without an audience, nobody cares about your podcast. And so you tuning in, you listening. When Ben and I first started this, our audience was between 60 and 80, and it has grown significantly over the years. So thank you for listening to us talk about food and Legos and travel and rest, and then also about church work, because just never know. There's so many podcasts that started. So the fact that we have an audience, and we have a growing audience, and we have an audience that sends us emails and engages us and thanks and things like that.
That's awesome.
When I got that award, the first thing I thought about was the people. When we got that award, when we got the award, the first thing I thought about.
He's the host. I'm the co-host. I know.
Under the fig tree is all of us.
Yeah.
Together, we're all under this fig tree of Jesus calling us to rest and meditate upon his word. So thank you for listening. Again, we'll be back soon. Re-listen to episodes if you miss Ben's voice for the next couple of months. And we look forward to seeing you guys all again under the fig tree. Take care and see you in a bit.